Why are my altcoins not pumping? That's the question everyone is screaming and wondering right now. Now, I know some of you guys in the comments might be thinking, well, Kyle, my altcoins are pumping today. But what I mean in this video is those face melting, day over day, week over week, altcoins ripping 10, 20, 30, 40, 50% daily for weeks on end. That's the alt season that we're talking about today. You got Bitcoin touching all-time highs, ETFs pulling in billions, stocks, all-time highs, gold, all-time highs. And yet, your altcoins look like they've just been stuck in quicksand. Every time the same promise shows up. Altcoin season starts next week. Guys, we're guilty of it here on this channel ourselves. That's why we dug in even deeper today to show you guys exactly what needs to take place first. The market runs a scoreboard, and until certain things light up on that scoreboard, the rotation to alts that I'm talking about, the face melting gains, won't happen. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through that scoreboard and the signals that matter and the conditions that have to line up before altcoin season finally arrives. All right, guys, if you're ready for this, if you're ready to learn when we're gonna see it, do me a favor, just throw the like button, and without further ado, let's get into it. Let's set the table with seasonality, because history gives us a lens into how Q4 usually plays out. September traditionally has been a rough month for Bitcoin. 8 out of the last 12 Septembers closed in red. But this year broke the script. Bitcoin closed September in green, finishing around $113,000 up from 108. Whenever that has happened in the past, get this guys, 100% of the time, October finished in the green with an average gain of 22%. Even without a positive September, October has on its own had a stellar reputation. Crypto traders even gave it the name Uptober. 10 out of the last 12 Octobers have ended in the green. That pattern matters because Bitcoin is stepping into what has historically been its strongest stretch of the calendar. Since 2015, Q4 has been the best quarter for Bitcoin with an average gain of almost 58%. And guys, for some quick back of the napkin math, if we saw that average play out again, that would put Bitcoin at $180,000. I would be very, very happy with $180,000 Bitcoin. And when you layer that backdrop against the scoreboard, you start to see where the probability builds. A September close in the green, the historical strength of October, and a monster Q4 track record. If all season is going to show up, this is the window to expect it. And all we got to do is make sure we're prepared to see and understand the signs before they show up. What you don't want to be doing, guys, is you don't want to be caught off guard. You don't want to be out of the market. The biggest gains, what we've been waiting for an entire 4-year cycle, is coming down to the next few months. You definitely, and this is not financial advice, but me personally, you guys probably already know I'm all in the market, 100% exposed. And right now is a very good time to start positioning in your most favorite altcoins. Don't ape in all at once, because these 5 signs need to hit before we're in true altcoin season. But it's a good time to start assessing the market and see which altcoins you think are going to be doing the best over the next few months. And before we dig into these 5 signs that tell us when alt season is here, first we got to dig into the macro, because knowing the bigger picture will give us the confidence to act and buy the dip on those scary red days when everyone else thinks it's over. The real story of the cycle is bigger than Bitcoin touching new all-time highs before the halving. Yeah, that was huge, but it's the fact that Wall Street is finally locked in. Spot Bitcoin ETFs now hold around 7% of the total supply. I don't even know where we would be if that never happened, right? With multiple days in late September where inflows topped $500 million. That's a structural bid we've never had in crypto before, and extends beyond Bitcoin, right? Ethereum ETFs were approved in May 2024 and launched in July. Institutions rushed in. ETH ETFs have already pulled in over $13.8 billion this year, and assets under management top $27 billion. Since 2024, both Bitcoin and ETH have gained full institutional access through ETFs, and looking back at how things unfolded, that shift laid the foundation for everything that followed. The first big wave showed up in what most people call the Trump pump. You guys remember that? When Bitcoin more than doubled in 2024 on ETF approval and political momentum. By April 2025, the administration had imposed tariffs on imports, piling in fresh pressure on inflation and boxing the Fed into a corner. Then in September 2025, the Fed finally began cutting rates, lowering its target to a range of 4 to 4.25. So here's the setup. Institutions are parking capital in Bitcoin and ETH through the ETFs, retail is still quiet. Policy decisions like tariffs could keep inflation higher for longer, which puts the Fed in a bind. They want to cut rates, but they also have to prove that they're still serious about fighting inflation. It's that dual mandate that they keep talking about. That's why the Altcoin Scoreboard we're going to get into is the only thing that confidently tells us when the fireworks are about to start. Every face-melting rally in altcoins has always been powered by one thing, a tidal wave of retail liquidity. Right now, that wave is nowhere to be found. We said this in the video yesterday, right? The Coinbase app is one of the clearest signals. During past manias, it shot up to the top 10 on the US App Store. Today, guys, it's stuck around 275. That tells us that the casual investor hasn't even opened the door yet. And Google Trends paints the same picture. Searches for buy crypto and altcoins spiked briefly in August, but quickly faded. And today, tumbleweeds, guys. Also, YouTube views for crypto content like this channel are also deep in the gutter. For context, at the top of the last altcoin season in 2021, the biggest crypto channels were pulling in millions of views a day. And right now, that's not even close. And then there's household health. US credit card balances are sitting at a record $1.21 trillion, while the personal savings rate dropped under 5%. That means people just don't have disposable cash to be gambling on altcoins, even if they wanted to. So when we talk about alt season, remember this, retail is the gasoline. Without them, alts don't get the spark they need to light up, and the scoreboard stays dark. Now, we are seeing a little bit of a difference now with Wall Street coming in on board and these new ETFs that have altcoin exposure. I think the baskets are going to be super interesting. The ETF baskets that have multiple cryptos in it, right? And they will get some exposure, but probably nothing that's going to significantly move the needle. We really, really, really need altcoin mania to come from retail investors like you guys. Now, I just said, like, savings is in the gutter. Debt is sky high, all-time highs. So retail just doesn't really have the money they have had in previous cycles. And I think that's why what we're seeing right now. And then we have a difference in types of altcoin seasons too, where in prior cycles, you didn't have like these pump fund value extracting things that really just took money out of the ecosystem and put it in the hands of founders, attempting to build real things. And some of them were. And then you had a lot of people focused on these projects that were promising to change the world and launching. So there wasn't so much of a spread of attention. But do I think that there's still enough dry powder in retail's hands to cause a short-term mania? Likely, yes. And that's going to come from the green candles, ETH hitting all-time high, and the overall crypto market cap increasing. And even though if you don't have much money, if you're seeing the markets absolutely rip, you might take a gamble and take out some debts, and this might push people further in debt to go play that last quarter of the altcoin season. And that's where I think we might get some mania that comes from. So now let's move on to why you guys all came here today. The Altcoin Season Scoreboard is the only way to cut through all the hopium and noise to see if the conditions are actually lining up. There are 5 checks we need to see all lit up before we can actually confirm altcoin season is here. The first check, I mentioned it just a second ago, is that Ethereum needs to be breaking above and holding its all-time high. That magic number is $4,953. Ethereum tapped it back in August, but we never actually had a weekly close above that level. Today, it's trading around $4,300. And until ETH clears that high and stays there, alt season just won't officially be here. The second one, we talk about it quite a bit as well, Bitcoin dominance. And after being in an uptrend since 2022, it finally has broken its trend below 60% and is sitting around 58% right now. I think this is one of the most important factors on the scoreboard. So let me break it down a little bit deeper. In September, it put in a low of near 57%. Historically, that's often where dominance bottoms before reversing higher in October. On average, October has added almost 5% to dominance, with spikes as high as 10%. That kind of move would send dominance back over 60% in the coming weeks, meaning there's a high likelihood that Benjamin Cowen will be right and we'll see liquidity pouring back into Bitcoin during this period, not our altcoin moonbags. This pattern has played out before, in 2017 and again in 2020. Dominance found a floor in September, surged through Q4 as Bitcoin soaked up liquidity, and only later did altcoins catch fire. The same setup appears to be playing out right now. Liquidity is flowing into Bitcoin, social interest into crypto remains low, and alts are lagging on both upside and downside moves. The key level to watch right now is 55%. A breakdown through that range would be the real signal for alt rotation. Until then, the expectation is for Bitcoin dominance to spike through October as capital piles into Bitcoin first. And guys, the third check is the ETH versus rest of the altcoin ratio hitting 1. That means ETH's market cap equals all other altcoins combined. Right now, ETH sits around 12.59% dominance, and the rest of the alts are around 24%, which gives a ratio of 0.52. That's miles away from parity. So this one is very off. The fourth check is ETH dominance climbing to around 16%. That has been the historical level where ETH gets too top heavy and rotation spills into mid caps. You've seen the chart before, guys. We've talked about it ad nauseum. First Bitcoin, then Ethereum, then large caps, then mid caps, and then the moon bags, the micro caps. Today, Ethereum dominance is closer to around 13%. Close, but not close enough to call. This one is still waiting. And guys, the fifth check is macro tailwinds. This is about liquidity, rate cuts, and stablecoins. The Fed just cut rates to 4 to 4.25% in September. Stablecoin supply has pushed past 300 billion with 5% increase over the last 30 days. That's a partial tailwind. The wind is blowing, but the cavalry has not charged yet, guys. So here's a scoreboard today. Ethereum holding a new all-time high. It's still off. We still need that to get checked off. Bitcoin dominance is in play, so we're not there yet. The ETH versus the rest of the altcoin ratio is still far away from parity. ETH dominance has not reached 16% yet, and the macro tailwind, well, it's partially there with rate cuts and stablecoin growth, but it hasn't turned into a full-on surge just yet. Now, here's a few more things to keep in mind as we're approaching alt season. Stablecoins have crossed $300 billion with 5% growth in the last month. Stop and think about that for a second. 5% growth in just a month. Remember, you can think of this similar to the global M2 money supply. The more stablecoins in circulation, the better the pumpamentals are for our bags. And the growth we're seeing right now is getting exponential. There's more capital sitting on the sidelines now than ever before. Gold just ripped to $3,800 an ounce and hit the most overbought RSI in decades. When gold gets that stretched, money often rotates up the risk curve and into Bitcoin and alts. Copper is the other side of the story. When the price of copper goes up, that signals a risk on environment. It gets used everywhere in the economy: housing, electronics, infrastructure. When copper outperforms gold, it signals expansion, growth, and risk appetite. That's exactly the same analogy as gold, silver, copper, or Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. You get it? Further up the risk curve. And history shows those are the exact conditions that line up with alt seasons. 2017 and 2021 both saw copper rising against gold at the same time that alt exploded. Right now, gold is at record highs, while copper has been beaten down and is primed for an explosive move up. And to make copper reversal even more likely, the Grasberg mine disaster in Indonesia has tightened the available supply, and this could spark the next big move. When copper starts climbing against gold, that shift means risk appetite is back, liquidity is loosening, and one more reason why altcoins are finally positioned to run. And now the ETF pipeline. Bitcoin and Ethereum already have their spot ETFs. The SEC is reviewing applications for Solana and XRP. Once those are live, it's an instant on-ramp for institutions into major alts. So guys, here are the things that you need to keep an eye on for the weeks ahead. Ethereum weekly close. The number to beat is all-time high of 49.53. Today, they were still around 4,300. Bitcoin dominance sitting at around 59%. If it slides toward 55% and below, that's the real rotation. Stablecoin supply, well, it's already over 300 billion with positive momentum, and it just keeps on growing, which is extremely bullish and why we're nowhere near the end of the cycle. We need the Coinbase app to go up the ranks. It's still stuck at number 270, but that could change really, really quickly as we've seen in the past. ETF flows, if we continue to see inflows spiking up, then the suits know something's coming. So track those daily and recognize positive patterns. These are the 5 things that matter in the upcoming weeks. Guys, everything else is just noise. So when someone else says alt season is here next week, well, you guys have the 5 tools that you need to check to actually see if that's valid. All right, guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today's video. I hope that gives you a better picture of when to expect this absolutely ridiculous time, and just as important, because every one of you guys watching this channel will get really, really rich. But it's important that we also keep that money and we don't round trip our bags. And if you're subscribed to the channel, we'll make sure that we cover exactly how to do that as well. All right, guys, until next time, see ya.